I am incredibly excited to introduce our next speaker because not only is she a household name, but she's one of my personal heroes. And I have to say that when they recently asked for people to nominate women to be on the stamp, she was my nomination. Yes, you were, ma'am. Yes, you were. Senator Elizabeth Dole founded Caring for Military Families, the Elizabeth Dole Foundation, to raise awareness and support for America's 5.5 million military and veteran caregivers. And since then, she has not only provided them a national voice, but she's made significant progress in increasing services and support for caregivers in every state across the country. And in addition to her service to this nation for more than 40 years as a passionate public servant, she served as the first female U.S. Senator from North Carolina. That deserves my round of applause right there. Gloria Steinem has nothing on her, let me just tell you. She was also the head of the American Red Cross, and Secretary Bob and I were talking earlier. I can't drive by that building without thinking of her name synonymously with that symbol, because you did so much during your time there to really transform that organization. Oh, see, and the next line says, completely transforming the organization. I didn't even read ahead. She was also Secretary of Labor for President George H.W. Bush, and as President Reagan's Secretary of Transportation, leaving an unmatched legacy of transportation safety accomplishments. I have been at a number of events with Senator Dole, and I've been so sort of honored. You know, like when you first go to Disney World and you see Mickey and you really believe he's the mouse? Well, she is the mouse. So my mouth dropped every time, and I would love to welcome her to the stage and let us know what you have to tell us about this issue.
Jumping up like the others. Well, Lee, thank you so much for that lovely introduction, and I'm really very deeply touched by what you said. God bless you. And what a pleasure it is to be here today, to be able to work with you, Lee, the very efforts, many efforts that we have engaged in together, our support for veterans and their caregivers. And Secretary McDonald, Secretary Bob, thank you for your tremendous leadership on so many fronts, most especially in keeping our nation focused on suicide prevention. Dr. Shulkin, we appreciate your bringing us together today and recognizing our caregivers as both part of the solution to this problem and as potential victims themselves. And I was deeply moved by the powerful presentations of Dr. and Mrs. Summers and Mr. and Mrs. Zelke. Let's give them another round of applause. God bless you. Thank you so much. And ladies and gentlemen, I am grateful indeed to be included in today's program. Throughout my career, I've been fortunate to be a part of coalitions working to address a broad range of societal challenges. I can think of few issues that present such a clarion call for action as the subject we are here to address. No one likes to discuss this issue, and that's why what we're doing today is so important. Every single case of suicide is unbelievably tragic. We owe it to each suffering service member, veteran, and caregiver to study, collaborate, and act. It truly is a matter of life and death. And I'll tell you, I'm still feeling emotional from what I've heard from the families this morning. It really was such a powerful presentation, and thank you so much for being willing to share your stories. When I shared with our foundation's caregiver fellows that I would be speaking about suicide prevention, they were grateful and admittedly a little surprised. Suicide among caregivers is still the ignored elephant in the room. Even caregivers themselves are reluctant to open up about the issue. So to have the VA propose that we elevate the topic from the quiet conversations among caregivers to this public forum was both unexpected and heartening to them. Secretary McDonald and his team have shown time and time again that they are both listening and acting upon the enormous needs of our caregivers. Today is another demonstration of that commitment. Suicidal ideations among caregivers are real. The turmoil many of our wounded warriors experience is so great that it transfers to the loved ones caring for them at home. As a result, some of our military and veteran caregivers consider suicide as their only escape from the stress and pain they're experiencing on the home front. Our need to respond is urgent. Caregivers are our first line of defense in protecting their veterans from suicide. If we strengthen the services offered to the caregivers, we'll be safeguarding the well-being of those who have served. If we continue to overlook this problem, we let down both our veterans and those who care for them. To offer effective resources, we need to first understand the role that caregivers play. In 2014, my foundation announced the results of the RAND study, which we commissioned to learn about the services and sacrifices of military and veteran caregivers. This landmark report was the first nationwide, comprehensive, evidence-based study of these hidden heroes. Wounded Warrior Project was our co-funder for the study. It would not have been possible without their support, and we're grateful for their partnership. What the experts at RAND discovered about the 5.5 million caregivers serving across the country provides important context for the issues we're discussing today. First, the study pointed out that caregivers were the single most important factor in ensuring the well-being of our wounded warriors. On a moment's notice, caregivers rearranged their lives around their veterans. They assume more responsibilities, upend job and child care schedules, and meticulously plan out every daily activity for the good of the person they care for. Nobody understands the struggles, the moods, the emotional triggers of these warriors as intimately as their caregivers. In turn, injured veterans entrust their loved ones more than any other person to provide their care. In many ways, the caregiver becomes the focal point for the health and recovery of our wounded warriors. The warrior-caregiver relationship also positions caregivers as one of our greatest resources in reducing veteran suicide. The complicated, all-consuming pressure that comes with this role is enormous, and we must remember at all times that the vast majority of caregivers are not professional social workers, nor are they healthcare providers. For many, caregiving is a 24-hour-a-day job. They assist their veterans by tracking and administering medications, performing at-home medical procedures, and sometimes dressing, bathing, feeding, and tending to personal hygiene. Caregivers also assume responsibility for the household. Often with little help from their veteran, they handle the cooking, cleaning, paying of the bills, legal and other financial issues, and the raising of children. Some must balance employment on top of these responsibilities when they are the sole breadwinner for the family. Veterans with visible wounds are not the only ones who require this level of caregiving. In fact, the majority of post-9/11 caregivers are caring for someone who suffered invisible wounds, such as post-traumatic stress and traumatic brain injury. And many of the caregivers report that helping navigate invisible injuries is harder than dealing with the visible ones. For example, caregivers become hyper-alert for potential triggers. They plan for every scenario, developing backup plans for their backup plans in advance of an emotional event like Memorial Day, or even something as seemingly simple as a trip to the grocery store. Over time, caregivers become sensitive to what may cause mood swings, anxiety attacks, or angry outbursts and rage. In many cases, they become more sensitive than the veterans themselves. Veterans may occasionally react to triggers, but caregivers put up their guard with every potential risk factor. This is a real and debilitating phenomenon facing our caregivers. It's not surprising, then, that those caring for a veteran with emotional wounds are more likely to exhibit their own symptoms of poor mental health. RAND found that post-9/11 caregivers are 4 times more likely to suffer depression than civilians. Compounding these difficulties is the dilemma that too many caregivers carry out their role in isolation. Few Americans understand what it's like to serve in uniform today. Even fewer can relate to the lives of military and veteran caregivers. More than 50% of post-9/11 caregivers report that they do not have a support network to help with their caregiving. And most are not eligible for caregiver assistance programs because of age and relationship qualifications. For example, programs that require care recipients to be at least 60 years old are out of reach for 80% of post-9/11 caregivers. Above and beyond these challenges is the fundamental obstacle that many caregivers do not self-identify as such. They see themselves as simply doing what anyone would do in their place, performing their duties as a spouse, a sibling, a parent, or a friend. They're doing the difficult work of caregiving without any of the support. These statistics and findings paint a troubling picture indeed about the scope of our problem, but it's the personal stories of the caregivers behind the numbers that truly convey the urgency of this crisis. Caregivers like Sue Kirk, one of our foundation fellows representing the state of Mississippi. She's cared for her son since 2007, when on his 6th deployment, an IED explosion exacerbated Jim's post-traumatic stress and left him with a traumatic brain injury. When we ask our caregiver fellows to give us a sense of how threats of suicide affect the life of a caregiver, Sue painted the picture of a heart-wrenching daily ritual. Waking up each morning, preparing herself to check on her son. If it's been a quiet night, Sue holds her breath as she checks his bedroom, praying that she will not find a scene that she fears every day. Sue says this constant fear has aged her. Stephanie Smith, a fellow from Georgia, cares for her husband who suffers nerve damage, spinal injuries, traumatic brain injury, and post-traumatic stress. She described the unnerving reality that she and other caregivers are not just caring for someone who is sad or depressed, they're caring for a person who may yearn for death. Their veterans think about suicide, they talk about suicide, and openly discuss how they might go about committing suicide. Steph said her husband, Tom, knows how to put on a good face. He could talk to you and you wouldn't see a problem. More alarmingly, he knows how to speak with his VA doctors without raising any red flags. Yet during his less guarded moments, Tom opens up about the idea of taking his life. He sees suicide as an escape from the physical and emotional pain. He is envious of veterans who have made successful attempts. They don't hurt anymore, Tom says, and they're reunited with their friends lost in battle. After one suicidal episode, as Steph rode with Tom in the back of the ambulance, she said he pleaded with her to let him die this time. He felt like a burden. He saw no hope of getting better. It was scary. It was embarrassing. I already died in Iraq, he told her. My body just doesn't know it yet. Steph reports she has to stay one step ahead of Tom's suicidal thoughts at all times. She has to foresee ways he could take his life with things around the house before he does. It's a terrible emotional state to be in. Tom recently went on a therapeutic fishing trip with fellow veterans designed to be a positive event, but Steph wondered if he might take the opportunity to jump in the freezing water, weighed down by his gear. The struggle is endless for these caregivers, ladies and gentlemen. Their minds are constantly racing with such horrific scenarios. And as I mentioned earlier, they often have no network, no community, no chance to relieve themselves of these terrible thoughts. I asked Steph to tell me how caregivers begin to reach the point of suicide themselves. She described being constantly tired and worn out. Over time, caregivers begin adapting their veterans' view that there's no hope for things getting better. I'd be surprised if anyone who's been a caregiver for more than 3 years hasn't at least thought about it, she said. 3 years is about the time when you realize you could do everything right as a caregiver, and it won't help. This is our challenge, ladies and gentlemen. The alarming findings of the RAND study, these painful personal testimonials, the caregiver challenges which have clearly risen to the level of a societal crisis requiring a national response. The obstacles I've outlined sound staggering, and we certainly have a lot of work to do. Yet I face this challenge with optimism, and I know our friends and partners at the VA do as well. Our nation has a history of rallying around what seem like insurmountable crises to find that solutions are indeed possible when we work together. And we've heard a lot about the importance of working together this morning. I've certainly seen it succeed many times when we commit ourselves to a truly holistic approach. The first step we must take is fundamental. Find the women and men assisting our wounded, ill, and injured service members and veterans and educate them about the importance of identifying themselves as caregivers. Understanding they are filling an important role, a role served by 5.5 million individuals facing the same issues, will help deter a range of caregiver problems like isolation. It will open doors to caregiver resource programs. Our foundation is taking on this challenge at a national level. Later this year, we'll launch a nationwide education initiative called the Hidden Heroes Campaign to encourage caregivers to self-identify and also to rally Americans to offer their support. Actor Tom Hanks has already stepped forward to serve as the campaign's chairman, and we will announce a broad range of partners to assist our efforts. You can begin helping now by ensuring that every spouse, parent, sibling, and friend you see caring for a veteran understands the importance of their service and the fact that they are not alone. Once identified as caregivers, we need then to connect them to a support network. Our foundation manages the Hidden Heroes Caregiver Community, a closed, caregiver-only Facebook group where caregivers can exchange resources, share advice, and socialize with people who understand their lives. We also facilitated the launch of the Military and Veteran Caregiver Network, which offers a myriad of resources, including trained peer mentoring. Please refer the caregivers you encounter to these online resources for support through our website at elizabethdolefoundation.org. Also, look for opportunities to connect caregivers in your community. If you work at a VA hospital, help foster in-person connections. If you represent a veteran support organization, please make sure that your mission is inclusive of caregivers. We can also reduce the emotional load caregivers carry by offering increased training and resources like those provided so well by Meg Cabot and her team at the VA. A large source of caregiver anxiety, ladies and gentlemen, stems from what they don't know. How do I plan our long-term finances? What do I do during emotional downswings? Am I correctly tending to my veteran's wounds? What do I do if he contemplates suicide? And what happens to me and my family if he actually does? The VA plays a major role in answering these questions, but it can't all fall on the VA system. Once again, we need a holistic approach. The private, nonprofit, labor, and faith communities have to step up. And when they do, we must ensure they have the training and education to understand our caregivers' unique circumstances and challenges. We've taken a lead role in coordinating collaboration across these sectors through our Hidden Heroes National Coalition. Now, I'm pleased that many of our coalition partners are here today. We've worked with each organization to recognize how they can expand and adapt the critical services they're already offering to benefit our hidden heroes as well. Many, like Barbara Van Dalen of Given Hour, have stepped up in a major way. I'm grateful indeed for the collective commitment of our dedicated and passionate coalition members. I invite everyone here to join us if you're not already engaged. Finally, we need to identify mental health and respite resources for our caregivers. These two areas go hand in hand. Clearly, caregiving takes a huge emotional toll. Many of our caregivers report they were blindsided by their suicidal thoughts. They had devoted so much energy to caring for their veteran that when they finally stop to reflect on their own feelings, they're shocked to realize how low they have sunk. Respite care not only offers a much-needed break, It provides caregivers a chance to focus on caring for themselves. Our faith communities, including military chaplains and civilian spiritual organizations, must clearly play a major role in suicide prevention efforts. Our RAND study found that religious guidance was the #1 resource sought by caregivers, yet it was one of the least common types of support available. Faith-based groups located in all corners of our nation have the unique ability to reach every veteran and caregiver in need of help. These organizations in a protected environment can provide mental health and family counseling, as well as respite resources. Faith leaders are also some of the most qualified people to assist those struggling to find hope and meaning in their lives. Despite the struggles they face, military and veteran caregivers are model examples of selflessness, strength, and resilience. They have taken on their roles with the same duty and honor their loved ones demonstrated in protecting our freedom and our security. We must stand firmly by their sides, ladies and gentlemen, ensuring they have our support every step of the way. A holistic approach to this crisis will leave us all stronger, won't it? That's how America solves her biggest problems. It's a characteristic of our nation that reminds me of one of my favorite historical anecdotes. It's the story of a night in 1945 when General Dwight Eisenhower was walking along the banks of the Rhine River, thinking of the crossing in which he would lead the Allied armies. He met a soldier and asked him why he wasn't sleeping. The young GI, who did not recognize Ike, said, "I guess I'm just a little nervous." "So am I," said Eisenhower. "Let's walk together, and perhaps we'll draw strength from one another." Ladies and gentlemen, I draw strength every single day from the stories of love and devotion demonstrated by our nation's military and veteran caregivers. May their commitments inspire us to walk with them, and in turn, to inspire the support of Americans in every corner of this country. Together, we can help our veterans and their caregivers see that a brighter future does indeed lie ahead. Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen. God bless each and every one of you, and God bless this great land of the free, America. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Senator Dole. You really, truly inspire all of us. I think the other aspect of caregiving, especially for somebody who's come home injured or wounded or with all kinds of negative thoughts, is the feeling of guilt you have as a caregiver because you're told that you're supposed to feel so happy and lucky that they're alive. And in those moments when you feel challenged and angry and suicidal, and I did have those moments, believe it or not, even with 4 young children, you are wondering why you're not 100% grateful. So acknowledging that, and one other tiny thing I'll share with you all, those of you who are in the healthcare providing end of this, I'll never forget going into Bob's rehab, and he was in a private rehab hospital in New York, and he was in a coma for 5 weeks and in inpatient rehab for maybe 4, and so he was now in outpatient rehab. And I was deciding very early on that I would not be with him every day in rehab because it was stunting his progress, because he was looking at me holding the plastic head of lettuce and knowing that he couldn't say the word. And I must have been sitting there like a mother of a toddler saying, lettuce, lettuce, with mouthing the words. So I realized early on to back out of his progress. But as I picked him up at the end of the day, his rehab therapist pulled me into her office, and I thought, uh-oh, what's he done? What's he said? He was still sort of putting his filter back together. And she said, I just wanted to ask you, has anybody asked you how you're doing? And that was a whole box of Kleenex later. So for those of you in the system, you may not have that extra moment to touch that caregiver, but to just say some little tiny thing to let her know or him know that they're part of your care meant the world to me. Still remember it. The RAND study, we were so proud to help release those results. It was a groundbreaking thing. So thank you so much for sharing that with us.